Setting and styling borders in CSS is arguably one of the most important aspects of developing and designing web applications. So let's take a look to see how we can set and style all of our borders. So to set a border, we need three required properties, and these are going to be style, width, and color. And each one of these are going to define exactly how the border is going to look. So let's start off by defining these three properties on this div tag here. So we'll head over to the CSS and we'll select our div, and the first property we'll work with is the border style. So we'll select border style. And there's many different styles we can use, including the dashed, dotted, and quite a few others. Let's just stick with a solid border style. That'll give us just a single solid line. Next, we need to define our color property. So we'll select color, border, color, and let's just do a black for now. And finally, we need to define a width or a thickness for the border. And we could do that by defining border width, and we could set that to, let's just say, 3 pixels. Now if we save that, we can see this box has shown up with a solid black 3 pixel width border. And these are the three properties that are required just for the border to show up. But this seems like a very long and drawn out way just to add a simple border to something. Isn't there an easier, maybe shorter way that we could add a border? Well, yeah, there actually is. It's called the border shorthand property. Now, the border shorthand property will take all three of these right here and condense it down into just a single line. So let's go ahead and just comment this out here for now, and we'll select our div again, and we're going to actually say just border. Just like that. And right here we can define all three of these styles inside of this one property. We could set the solid black 3 pixel border. And if I save, you can see nothing has changed because it's the exact same as these three styles up here. And the border shorthand property is probably one of the most used ones, because it's very rarely that you see someone define all three of these on an element. They would rather just define it all in one line, all on one border shorthand property, rather than defining it on 3 separate properties. And you can actually define just about any style, color, or width on this border shorthand property. So I could do a dashed green 12 pixel border, and if I save that, you can see I've got a dashed 12 pixel thick green border. And there are actually many different ways that we can define things onto this border property. We can actually set RGB values, and I could set a 15, 27, 255 border property on that, and that's going to change it to that specific color. And I can even do relative size values on here as well for the thickness. We could say it's a 12 rem border property and it's going to look like a big square, but that's the thickness of each border on here. And let's actually change this back to a 0.2 rem, and that'll give us a nice thin border right here as well. Now what about rounded borders? You always see these new updated sites with a rounded border on just about everything. It looks softer, it looks smoother, and it generally looks a lot nicer. But how do we do it? Well, there's one property called the border radius property, which will allow us to change the radius of the border, and we can actually make full circles with this as well. So sticking with our original div, we'll just go ahead and comment this out, and we'll select our div again, and we'll give it a border of 1 pixel solid black. And to define our border radius, we just need to select the border radius property, and we can specify any kind of radius. This is a size value, so a pixel value, a rem value, just about anything we can define on here. So let's just give it a slight border radius here of 5 pixels. And you can see there's a slight roundness on these borders that if I remove isn't there anymore. So you can see that the 5 pixels is rounding those edges, and I can get a little bit more harsh with that. I can go up to 15, and you can really see the radius forming there. Now this is also used to make circles as well. So to make a circle, all we have to do is set it to 50%, and that will give us our round border radius. And the border radius property is actually completely detached from the border property itself. So what I mean by that is I don't need to specify the border property to be able to specify the border radius property. And to see that, we'll go ahead and comment out that border property, and I'll just set on the body a background color of black. And then on here, we'll set a background color of white. And you can actually see that it's now a circle, and I can actually change that border radius property of 15 pixels, and you can see that the border radius is affected without actually having the border property defined. So we don't actually need to define the border property to define a border radius. And this is actually very common whenever you start seeing different things. A lot of things don't have a border property set, but it will have a border radius property set. And while we're still talking about the border radius property, we can actually set a border radius on individual edges as well. So let's go ahead and just remove this, comment that back in, and remove that, and we're back to our original border radius. So if I wanted to set just the border radius on this bottom left corner, I could use the property border bottom left radius, just like that. And if I save that, you can actually see that it's only given that border radius to that bottom left corner. And there's a border bottom right radius, and I can set that to 24 pixels if I want, and you can see that's a much harsher curve than the left one. And the same with the border top left radius. I could set that to 50% if I wanted to, and that's going to give us a 50% border edge. And I could do the border top right radius as well as 3 pixels if I wanted. And these are completely individual properties that we can call individually or together, just like this. And we can actually single out individual borders as well. So if I wanted to just have a single right border on this with no other borders, we could get rid of all of this, and we could set the border right to a solid 1 pixel black border, just like that, and we'll just get the right border, and that's it for that. Same with the left. We could do the border left property, and we could set a solid 15 pixel orange border on here, and you can see we get that solid 15 pixel orange border just on the left border, affecting no other borders. And these properties work very similar to the regular border property as well. So we could set a border top, and we could set it as a dashed 2 rem RGB 1597 45 border, and you can see that that's going to be applied to the top border as well. And that is the border. There's many different aspects of the border that we didn't get to go over in this video, so I'll link the MDN article down below if you want to check it out. In the meantime, if you did like the video, make sure you slap a like on it. Check out the full playlist, link is right next to me. Make sure you subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.